Welcome to the Born Unbreakable podcast with Coach Dez and DJ F&A. I'm really excited about this episode because you will be seeing an interview with me and my good friend Kel, who is actually...
Yeah, dumb bitch.
She has...
No, she's not a dumb bitch.
No, she has a brand called How I Cured My Resting Bitch Face and a podcast called Dear Dumb Bitch.
Yeah, I like it.
Right?
I like it.
We actually met a while back and I interviewed her on the show in March of 2022. So 2 years ago. Then Kel flew out to Vegas the following month in person and did an in-person interview with me. And we released that episode on both of our podcasts. So this was an opportunity.
When was that again?
That was spring of 2022. So 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot has happened in 2 years. And we thought it would be cool to come back together and reflect on the journey.
Didn't she move to like Bali?
She did.
Yeah.
Amazing. So.
I had a friend, and our real estate agent, Sebastian.
Yes.
Remember when his dad was talking about just upping and leaving to Thailand?
Yeah.
Just moving to a whole nother country?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. But I mean, when I went out there, I was like, okay, this is cool. You know what I mean? I think it's just so far. Because here's the thing, when I moved to Vegas, I was like, okay, well, it's 10-hour drive from El Paso, 2-hour flight.
Right.
No big deal. You know what I mean? But you're talking about Bali. Like,
yeah.
like
and so
over 15-hour flight?
It takes a day at least to get there. Now, one of the highlights that I wanted to mention about this episode is really this notion of taking a leap of faith. And I think we go through different times in life where
she took a leap of faith going to Bali.
Yeah, well, and I won't, go find episode that we did together.
It was at the Resorts World.
That was like when we first went to the Resorts World, right?
It was before we upgraded our equipment. We didn't have all this. It was very interesting.
Yeah, well, I think it was something around episode 83 when if you go through all the episodes of Born Unbreakable, you can hear us talk about it. But just for the backstory, she left a toxic relationship in Florida, uprooted her life, and moved to Seattle with her sister. She's a realtor by background, and then ultimately decided to devote her life to coaching people get out of toxic relationships and move to Bali. So that was the thread of steps that she made. So in about 2 years ago, I, in the summer, was starting to do the writing program, a little less than 2 years ago, to write my book, Born Unbreakable, which we've talked about. You heard it in the last couple of episodes. Born Unbreakable, 5 Steps to Overcoming Your Self-Limiting Beliefs, available on Amazon. And then I invited Kel to learn about the writing program because I knew that she also had a book simmering inside of her. So she joined the cohort that was after me, and we both went on the journey. And fast forward to today, 2024, we've both written books. So hers is How I Cured My Resting Bitch Face, which you can also look up on Amazon right now. So we talk about that in this episode. It's really, really cool. One of the other things, and I'm curious for your, insights on this, that we spend time talking about is just the evolution of your journey and like healing and overcoming your past and trauma. Aaron and I just got back from a conference that was all about rejuvenating yourself.
In the Utah desert.
It was in Provo, Utah, and it was really about coaches and healers becoming better at what we do, growing our business, but fundamentally working through our own healing and the things that we need to be better people so we could be better coaches. So like, what was your perspective on that? Because Kel and I talked about it in the episode, but I'm just curious, when you think about healing and growing, like, what did you think about the conference?
I don't like it.
You don't like
no,
that?
I'm just kidding. No, I think what it is just, going to these conferences, like I said that I did a lot of multi-level marketing, as a young person, because you're trying to you want to make money. So you get pulled into this MLM stuff,
Yeah.
So anytime there's conferences like that, I'm always it reminds me of that. That's why I'm always
You have some skepticism.
But the cool thing is that nobody's there trying to sell you something. When you go to the conference, you're paying for the information that people are giving to you. And there was so there was a couple presentations that I liked. One was the lady that was talking about, and she just texted me, Kelly, about how to present.
Yeah, speaking.
Yeah,
how to speak
and
effectively
me
on
being
stage.
a production guy, always behind the scenes, she was like, if you do these things, your AV team would like you. And I'm like, yes. So I like that, because it was man, people need to, if they're going to go and speak or be on stage, they need to learn how to use a mic, how to stand, just basic things like that, and to communicate to your AV team.
Right.
I know for me, even as a DJ, when I was touring, I would always, go to the AV team and be like, hey, this is what we're doing. These are the connections that I need. Is there anything you want me to do? It's always good to kind of have that. So that was good. The Lark.
Yeah.
She was pretty cool.
Talking about life
And I felt
design.
bad because I don't like calling women by their first name like that. They're professional. I don't know her last name.
Galley.
Okay. Yeah. So Miss Galley, Lark Galley, she was cool because her story was interesting.
Suicide.
But,
and things like that. Yeah.
And when I saw, when she was speaking, for me, right away you go, okay, well, you're a very busy woman. You weren't just a mom that just, maybe you have a 9 to 5 and you come home and, she was constantly working. Her dad committed suicide, and then she had to take over his trucking business.
And then her son.
As a woman. And think about that. I wonder if people that work for her dad were like, oh, okay, the daughter's coming in. I don't know how much trust they had in her, but I can imagine, and this is being real, if a son came in, you'd be like,
oh, trucking.
If it's different, or when a woman comes in. But she handled it.
Yeah.
She went in, she rocked it, she made it more efficient, and she was successful at it, right?
Right.
So it's like this woman who's just hungry and very ambitious. I don't know if that takes away from being really involved, and maybe that was a sacrifice, when you're looking at the big picture.
Yeah.
I mean, just based on what she said, she was cool. And then now, those are the people on stage are pretty cool, But then the people that were with us, it's interesting. I think when you go to a self-help or any of these things, it's good to go with people, friends, But I know the guy that came, Joe, was Monique's friend. I hadn't seen him in a while, right?
Yes, they had met through real estate, and he moved to Utah 5 years ago.
And it was good. It's good. So, but I think it was good because when you go to these things and you're with your friends, you're able to feel more vulnerable. Because I know it's scary. You go to a conference and, a lot of people like to speak and tell their story, but a lot of people don't. They're a little so I think it's good when you go with somebody and then people can kind of start talking.
Right.
I think because of Monique, she's, a divorce expert in the real estate business. I mean, you're a self-help coach and transitional coach and, now a relationship, coach. This guy, Joe, had the best people around him. And not only that, but also a guy to kind of give his 2 cents. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was cool to see him just go man, I learned a lot. I'm curious to see in a couple of months to hit him up and see hey, how's everything going?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So for me, these conferences are, it's good. I'm starting to get it now. I think it's good because it's at least people are just trying to help people.
Right.
There's a lot of people with advice out there. And sometimes I think people don't, it's weird because if you say, hey, you should go to therapy. It's kind of something's wrong with me, But then people will go and maybe watch a YouTube person who's just inspirational and go, something's wrong with me. But I think it's you want to be able to say, feel vulnerable, hey, I'm being inspired by somebody. And I think, but if you look at music, movies and books and stuff, people will get into those and go, I can relate, maybe that's, they'll kind of do that, with like music and movies and entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But now we live in an age where it's like everybody's a YouTube personality. Everybody has a podcast. There's so many things out there.
Right.
And it could be a good thing because I feel like there's more help.
There's more help. There's more information. There's more perspectives.
There's more people putting their business out there,
mm-hmm.
which is not a bad thing because you're going, hey, I'm a successful woman who's very wealthy, but look at how fucked up my life was too.
Right.
I had a journey. So once, and I always talk about this. This is the reason why I like listening to like Howard Stern growing up,
mm-hmm.
because he interviewed people and it was the only time you were able to hear. Because when you see like, let's say an artist or a celebrity go on a TV show like Good Morning America, you have 5 minutes to
mm-hmm.
plug your stuff in, talk about what's going on, and then move on.
Yeah.
You don't really get to hear from them. But when you sit down and hear a 2-hour conversation
mm-hmm.
about your past, trauma, good, bad, triumph, anything that's gone on in their life,
right?
You go, wow, they're human.
Yeah.
And then you start going like, okay, well, they went through that. I'm going through something.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So now there's more of that. Now there's like, and I think that's good because I think that's one of those things where people always talk about bad about the internet.
Yeah.
Here's the other good thing. You have more people sharing their stories. Everybody feels like it's not just me,
mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I think it's a good thing. So these conferences, as a guy, it's like, again, we're very stubborn. We don't want to like hear from, and especially now I was like, one of like 5 guys at this conference?
Yeah, there was a handful, but it was predominantly
That's
women.
another thing. You're like, oh my God.
It's like, well, and here's the thing, this particular one, I think attracts women.
Yeah.
Because of the.
But I would tell guys, go to these things that have predominant women. If you feel like, maybe there's, here's the thing, it could be relationships or business or whatever, like whatever you're in,
mm-hmm.
if you understand the opposite sex,
mm-hmm.
it could be good for your relationship, your business, your relationship with your mom, your daughters, your wife, your girlfriend, even coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, just broadening your awareness.
just being around and just hearing something. Sometimes you just kind of like need to be in a room where you're out of the minority.
Mm-hmm.
But
the statistics do show that you could Google it right now. Women are the people that are targeted for self-development. Because their sense of vulnerability of seeking help and being okay with it is higher. And it is not as much of a more wide accepted thing for men to admit that they need help or want help or want to grow.
But because here's the thing, if you go on, YouTube, right? Or even on social media, you'll see these guys who are like, wealthy, smart, business guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what like everybody, like guys will gravitate towards that. Like, if you're into fitness, it's like, well, I'm gonna follow this fitness guy. He's always talking about all this stuff and inspirational on how to be healthy.
Well, but here's the thing. So here's what was going to be my other counter comment is that the recipient of information is mostly women, but the deliverers of the information are mostly men. So when you look at the self-help space or anybody that is professing things, more often than not,
But would you say this?
Tony Robbins and those kinds of things.
But if you look at, let's just see, if you got a room full of 50 women and 50 men,
mm-hmm.
and you put Tony Robbins,
mm-hmm.
right? You put Lewis Howes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is just men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's another big one?
Ed Milet.
Okay, that's
Ed
a guy,
Milet
right?
is huge.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then you put Andrew Tate, and then you put Dan Bilzerian,
mm-hmm.
right? And then you put like Joe Rogan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where do you think the women would gravitate towards more?
Well, but you're also talking towards a person that, it depends. But me.
But I think obviously the ones that are more on the positive and growth. And
absolutely.
But more men would actually go on the more destructive kind of like toxic masculinity kind of shit.
It could be. Right? You know what I mean? But
because that's just what I see just on from the guys or people, you know what I mean? What I see on social media, it's like seeing these guys get like, it's like a lot of guys like Dan Bilzerian.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the common things? Fucking bitches and money.
Yeah. But it's, I mean,
You know what I
it
mean?
depends on.
But he's not saying, hey, as a guy, you need to do this. It's not about the journey. It's just flexing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Now, Andrew Tate kind of came out hot and was describing some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like he took a lot of, I think his thing was more on like, it's like, hey, men, we are the way we are. You got to fucking live with it. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Instead of going like, okay, we are the way we are, but you have to understand that and how to work with the opposite sex.
Yeah.
You know
But see,
I mean?
the thing in true self-development space is about evolving. So the whole point is continuous learning, right? And it means opening your mind to, even if people that are so rote in like, it is just this way and this is the only way, right? That's like, even politics is like that. It's either the Democratic way or it's a Republican way, and that's it, So there's no room for other an invitation for other thinking or a new perspective. It's like the self-development space is intended for this to be this ongoing journey where you continue to learn.
And then we did the tunnel. And okay, so let's talk about this, because describe what the tunnel is and what we did.
Oh, okay. that we did. Okay. So, this was a faith-based conference. So Christian, faith-based. And there was at the end of the conference, the way that we closed it on one day was everybody walked. It was very quiet. That was the ambiance. It was meant to be light in the way that it felt. You walked in through a tunnel of people, one by one, and each person that you pass by would whisper to you.
So it's basically like a soul train line. Think of it like that. People are just lined up on each side, right?
But
and you just walk through, but they're close.
They're very close, and they whisper
hands are out.
in your ear. Their hands are out. Your eyes are closed. So it's very visualization based and experiential based. I'm doing it. I'm showing you. If you're watching on YouTube, this is what it looked like. Hands out, eyes closed. And you're walking through, and people would speak into you just anything they felt in the moment that they felt from your energy. So they might say words to you like powerful, beautiful, leader, triumphant, resilient, whatever, or a sentence. It could just be whatever spoke to you. So by the time you get to the end of the tunnel, now you've heard all these affirmations or positivities, and then you get a hug, right? Like a warm, friendly, cuddly hug at the end.
And this is what I'll say about that.
Okay.
As a guy, if I would have just walked in, I'd have been like, what the fuck? It was just kind of weird. I think because it's like, it's just, it's like, when people talk about AA meetings and like, or even like when it's like in Bad Boys 2, and it's like a bunch of men hugging and kissing and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is what I'll say. As a guy experiencing that, right? When I walked through there, it was interesting to hear what women are saying about you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was very cool, because you kind of want, everybody goes, when you walk into a room, what are people thinking about you? Like when they see you, what word comes into their head?
Yeah.
That was cool. Okay?
Yeah.
But then you'll look at the reaction to certain people and go, damn, some people need this.
Absolutely.
Because I know for me, when you're like, being a DJ, being in the entertainment business, you're constantly in the spotlight, and people are giving you props, and it's this whole thing where ego's being fed. You know what I mean? And especially since I've been doing it for a long time, it's like I should, know what I'm doing. Right. Yeah. But a lot of people don't get that. Like, like some people take that for granted, that a lot of people just feel like just not seen, or maybe just need some like, hey, there are strangers here. Somebody that you don't know, and just looks at you and says, keep going. You're enough. You're strong. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like one of those things where it's like, you know what? People need this. And I think as a guy, it may feel weird, but you learn so much on how to be more compassionate, how to be more understanding.
Right.
And I think that's really good.
Yeah.
For guys to experience that.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think there's two sides of it, because there's you receiving and your willingness to be open to receive just as a human being. And then there's you as a person who's trying to grow as an expert in your area to be able to hold space for people who are in a different part of their journey than you. And that's one of the things that we have to recognize, is that everyone is at a different point in their journey. Like if I ask you to say on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you, or how happy are you with exactly where you are in your life? Some people are going to be like 1. I fucking have no idea what I'm doing. And some people are like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
10. You know, so there's a big gradient. And I think these kinds of conferences and these kinds of experiences help you to understand.
And I have to
it's
say
not the
that
same for
when
everybody.
going to these conferences, sometimes like I'm there and I'm like I appreciate the little things I'm learning.
Yeah.
But then I can't help but go, damn, there are certain people in my life that need to be here.
Yeah.
You know?
Like the value they would get out of it compared to maybe what you're getting is like exponentially higher for where they're at that moment. Right. So I mean, the point of kind of highlighting this conference, you know, going
Shout out to my friend, Little Missy. Get your ass over here and get to these conferences, girl. It'll help you change your life. Shout out to Little Missy. God damn it.
All of us can think of a person that should be going to some kind of learning conference. But I think the point of why I asked you about it as it pertains to this interview that you're going to listen to with me and Kel is the journey never ends. Okay, so even for people like Kel and I who have coach after our name, it doesn't mean we've arrived. It doesn't mean we're omnipotent on top of some mountain and we don't have any learning to do anymore. Even though we're people that are experts in what we do, we have to keep learning and we have to keep growing to be the best version of ourselves for humanity. And so, you know, my hope in people listening to this episode, and if you are so, you know, looking for an interesting contrast, is go back and listen to, you know, episode
we'll put it in the description.
Yeah. We'll kind of point you to some previous
If you're watching
episodes.
this episode, just, you know, it'll be in the description. You can refer back.
Yeah. There's 2 to refer to. The one I interviewed her and then the one where we kind of did it together, compared to now, because I want you to see that journey. I want you to see, and we're still on it, right? Like, yeah, we've written books and now you can buy them and we're both doing different cool things and we're still podcasting, but there's still a sense of what else, what's next, what's more, you know?
Well, shit, let's get into this podcast with you and not the dumb bitch.
She has a podcast called Dear Dumb Bitch.
Yeah.
But
I just like it because as soon as we met her, it was like, oh, like you want to say like naturally, like, oh, there's that person, you know what I mean? But I'm like, it feels funny to be like, that's a dumb bitch. No, she's not a dumb bitch, but she has a dumb bitch podcast.
Yeah, no, she's
cool. She's dope.
One of the most fucking sensational people that I've met. You're really gonna enjoy her energy.
I think that's what I liked about it, is because someone who's smart and just ambitious and everything.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously, you know, she uses that as a good way to, like, you know, grab attention. And I think it's brilliant.
Yes.
You know, because sometimes you kind of need that. Like, oh my gosh, why is that girl, you know, saying dear dumb bitch? Like, you know, but then you have to kind of suck the people in.
Yeah, so because
I like her brand, you know, and then in person, she's just cool. You know? She
owns her vulnerability. And the reason that she titles her stuff that is because at one time that is how she felt and that is where she was at. And so she wants us to acknowledge, like, we were all having those dumb bitch moments where we made stupid decisions.
Yeah.
And to recognize, like, why did we do that? How do we do that? And what do we learn from it? And that's like the whole point. So I think you'll enjoy it. We did a meditation before we started. So hopefully you'll feel the energy that we were in is really one to give something that's a gift to all of you. So I hope you enjoy it. Give us some feedback. Let us know. Shoot an email to, Dez at bornunbreakable.com.
Or fax.
Right. Or, hit us up on Instagram, whatever. There's lots of ways to reach us, but we'd love to know what you think of the episode. And there'll be more episodes like this in the future, because this is, like we mentioned before.
Well, shit, let's just shut the fuck up and get right into it then.
Okay.
Let's go. Segue into it, little Dez. Go.
All right. check out this episode with me and Cal. Hope you enjoy it.
All right. So I am incredibly excited for this conversation that we are about to have. And I cannot even believe it's been like 2 years since we first met and first connected and recorded our episodes together. So, just for some context, Des and I met in 2022. It was the beginning of 2022. And I was a guest on her podcast, Born Unbreakable. And then we had such a beautiful connection. I actually flew to Las Vegas, where she lives, to record with her again for Dear Dumb Bitch. So, for the listeners that have not had the opportunity to listen to those episodes yet, let's both just share a quick intro since this conversation will be released on your both Born Unbreakable and Dear Dumb Bitch. So, I will let you start.
Yeah, I'm just so excited. Anytime we can rekindle a magical energy,
Mm.
it brings me so much joy. So I am Coach Des. And like Cal said, I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I am in the transformation space. And so that is the energy that I bring. And that is what I enjoy doing, being a coach, transforming people's lives. And I've been doing this kind of work in a variety of ways for almost 2 decades. And my mission is to help people overcome their self limiting beliefs and live a life that is unapologetic. So it is my joy to be able to share that today with all of our listeners, your listeners and my listeners.
Amazing. And you truly bring that energy and share that with you. And it's so, so beautiful. And I'm just so, so grateful to have the privilege of knowing you and of getting to witness your magic. So I am also in the transformational space. I am a life transformation and empowerment coach, as well as a speaker and an author. We're actually both authors, which we'll explore that more in the episode. And my passion is helping people transform their lives, specifically by transforming the relationship with themselves and reconnecting with their personal power. I also help women navigate the aftermath of toxic relationships and use the experience as a catalyst to unlock their highest self. And I am really, really passionate about empowering people to change what they believe is possible for themselves so that they can stop settling and actually live the life that they deserve and desire to live, because the only thing stopping us is ourselves. And the more that we can come back to the truth of who we are, the more magical life gets to be. And I've really gotten to experience the magic of life, and I want everyone to be able to experience that.
I could not agree more.
So let's chat. Let's catch the fuck up. What's new? What are some exciting updates since the last time we spoke? And I already know of one massive one that relates to both of us, but I want to hear it from you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, a lot happens in a day, in a month, let alone a year. So there's so much,
Yeah.
that we've done. I think one of the biggest things for me has been just expanding personally. I think one of the biggest things sometimes that people think of as a coach is what we do for people, right? But I think before we can be the best for those that we serve to enhance their lives and bring them on the journey to their best selves, we have to be our best selves. And so,
Yeah.
going to conferences that allows you to keep growing and learning. I went to the Summit of Greatness back at the end of last year in the fall. I just went to a conference last week, and actually tomorrow I'm getting on an airplane to go to, you would appreciate this, a conference that has to do with healing and empowerment, especially in the space for women to, be in exactly the energy that you were describing. So for one, I am a perpetual student. So that's one big long journey that was when we met, that is today, and that is tomorrow. I think the other big thing is the journey of joining a writing program, having a writing coach, and the process of writing a book and imagining what it would be like when that book came into fruition. And I still, this is probably the first conversation that I'm having since my book went on pre order on Amazon that it is actually real. When you're going back and forth with a publisher, when you're reading back to yourself your own words and your own experiences and those that you're sharing, and knowing that in very short order, other people will be able to hold it, touch it, feel it, read it, and experiencing, all of it is still surreal for me. So I feel like that in and of itself, since we last connected, has been all of these months working on it and having it become a reality. So that's happened.
Oh my goodness. Everything you just shared resonates with me so much, even to the extent of you mentioned this is the first conversation you're having essentially since your book was released for pre order. And honestly, same. My book was released for pre order on Amazon yesterday.
Oh
Yesterday.
my God.
And it truly is just the most surreal experience. And it's actually really interesting because in my mind, I've been a best-selling author for years. And sometimes I forget that it hasn't actually happened in this 3D reality yet. And then simultaneously, as I'm going through this process and on this journey, it's like, whoa, it's becoming real. It's becoming more tangible, and just the emotions that go into that. It's been such a beautiful journey, and it's definitely taught me a lot about myself. And I would love for us to dive into our writing journey because we both got to experience this, which is so cool, especially since we both worked with the same writing coach. So, just to share some context, it was not even last year, it was in 2022. It was around, I think it was like October. Des sent me an email with Ashley, who is the writing coach that we both worked with. And it was just an introduction because Des knew that I had this vision of writing a book, and Des was in the writing coaching program at the time. And apparently had an amazing experience. So she decided to make the introduction. And I connected with Ashley and immediately felt like that was the support that I needed on my writing journey. Now, of course, could I have written the book on my own? Could Des have written the book on her own without a coach? Absolutely. But as a coach, I really see the value in working with someone who has done what I want to do and letting them support me and guide me because we don't have to do this on our own. And we get to learn from them, learn from their journey, their experience, their mistakes that they've made, and we get to use that to support us. So we both did the same writing coaching program and used that to write our book. So I I want to hear all about your experience, and I would also love for you to share how this vision of becoming an author and writing a book first started for you. Is this something that you've always had the idea of? When did that come through? What was your writing journey like? How was the experience? Did anything surprise you about it? Tell me everything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, like a slew of emotions are just hitting me.
Yeah.
So I realized that I had trouble with my own power. And what I mean by that is I did envision myself as an author, but there is a piece of me that felt like I wasn't worthy. Like you need to achieve this, and this before that was a possibility. So, what was happening though, because I had already begun podcasting, I started podcasting in 2019. And that's a whole nother journey, and a whole nother discussion that we could have. But in through that journey, as you start accumulating listeners and more people start connecting with you, then it became a natural question that would come up of, when is your book coming out? It was almost this preconditioned assumption that because you're so bold enough to have a podcast and push yourself out there and talk about things you care about and have guests and do all this stuff, that a book was just a natural part of a next step. So when that started happening, it made me realize that I do have power, I do have information, I do have knowledge, and why am I holding back from tapping into that? Like there's some special moment that is supposed to happen in a room where I have this epiphany that it is time. And I was like, I need to activate on this feeling. And I was going through a period where I wanted to take, I guess you could say, a little bit of a sabbatical, where I would actually pause doing consulting work for 6 weeks to just give myself time that I feel as I needed just for me. And it was serendipitous that the timing of Ashley's program and how I connected with her. I do think there's something about the universe and manifestation that had alignment. And I was able to align my time off with this program, which meant that I could fully immerse myself and dedicate to me. And that also was uncomfortable because I've been a person for so long that's about my devotion to people, devotion to others. And I almost felt like it was a crime to give myself the gift of time for me. So I went through my own empowerment journey, my own, recognition of that I was worthy of giving time to myself. And then so that was what it felt like. That's what going into making the decision to invest in myself was like. Then when I was in the program, I realized there were two things that I did need. One was expertise, and two was community. Because what better way to accelerate your growth and your experience than, like you said, to learn from somebody and others who have, gone through certain roadblocks and mistakes and actually learn from them. And then on top of that, have the energy of people that are like minded, that share in the same goals. And what I figured out is that I started out wanting to write the book for others. That's the point. Is there's pain and there's purpose and power in turning, like how they say, you turn your pain into power and you tell your story, and it has the ability to influence and impact people in ways that you can never imagine. And so I wrote it with that in mind. And what I realized as I started writing is that this was really for me. This was like a gift to myself to actually memoir or document everything that I have learned until this point, because I've suffered from the same thing that so many suffer with. And while I also feel like I've gotten to the other side and feel capable enough to share with people what I believe can help people get over their self-limiting beliefs, I'm a perpetual student of it, because I still come back to those moments where I feel like I'm at a crossroads or a roadblock, but I've tested my own methodology on myself. So this book was as much for me and my personal growth, and it also just so happens to be that it can help other people. So I almost needed it to recognize just how much I've grown in my journey to get to this point, if that makes sense. And I feel like I relate to
Yeah.
it much because I follow you're one of the people that I have followed faithfully, because I believe in so much of what you do to help people, because I too have been in relationships that there were all kinds of red flags and I was just like blazing right through them. And so
Mhm.
I connected with you because of that, but you wouldn't be able to talk about that today and helping people if you didn't go through everything yourself and follow your own guidance to know that what you're professing actually works.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for seeing that. And It's so important as coaches and as leaders in this space to really embody what we are teaching, what we are sharing, and to have that integrity. Because as you mentioned earlier in the episode, the deeper that we go within ourselves, the deeper we go on our own journey, the more space that we can hold for others, and the further we can support them and guide them on their own journey. And I absolutely can relate to the experience of writing a book being such a transformational journey and honestly a spiritual journey as well. And it's really interesting because everything that I'm also sharing in my book are the same lessons that I needed to learn. It's everything that I had to navigate and overcome and learn how to use to support me. And now I get to share it in my book, but simultaneously, healing is not a linear journey. The journey of transformation is not linear. There's always deeper levels to access. So, even looking at some of the things that were coming up on my own writing journey that were things that I'm also simultaneously writing about. And honestly, I almost didn't even do the program. I tried to, this is kind of a funny story. I tried to delay it. So I signed up, committed, made the payment, paid in full because I was so excited. It just felt so, so aligned. I did that in November of 2022. January of 2023, I moved to Bali. And it was a very difficult transition for me. It was really difficult. So, Bali is like a portal. It really is this catalyst for so much growth and transformation. But there's also a lot that has to be brought up and released in order to have that growth and transformation. You have to release and let go of what is no longer serving you and what's no longer aligned. And it was a really difficult transition for me. I was purging emotionally and energetically on so many levels, so many layers. I really realized how dependent I was on my external environment for internal safety and stability. So it was not an easy transition for me. I was really struggling a lot, which was such a conundrum because it's like I'm in paradise. I'm literally living in paradise and I am honestly miserable. Like I was navigating and releasing so much. And then it was time to begin the writing journey, which was in, I think it was in March of 2022. So I moved in January and was scheduled to begin in March. And I actually sent Ashley, the writing coach, a message. And I'm like, you know what? I really don't feel like it's the right time. I'm just really struggling right now. I don't feel like I have the space or the capacity to add on anything extra. And she was like, Cal, I understand where you are. I respect, whatever your decision is, but just attend the first call. Just attend it. Just give it a shot. And I'm like, all right, let me just show up for the first call. And it was exactly what I needed because it was so much more than just about writing. It was about this inner journey within myself. And in that call, I felt the soul resonance of yes, this is your purpose. This is your truth. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna commit to it. And I'm going to face the fears that I have and develop the courage to move forward with the writing process. And it taught me so much about myself and simultaneously created this beautiful gift that I now get to share.
It's insane. And something that you said resonates with me so much. And I was going to say, because I believe that we all have a book in us or multiple books or a series within us. And if you want to have the ultimate experience of getting to know you, write a book. Like
Yeah.
undeniably going through I cried. I laugh. I mean, it's like everything that you could possibly experience of emotion, you do. And I have found
Yeah.
myself in that so much. And the catharsis of writing, of the highest of the high and the lowest of the low, and like everything in between, is just it helps you to achieve a higher sense of self-awareness,
Yeah.
the power of your purpose and your why, and and also just your impact. I think in this day and age, what I find right now, especially with social media and a lot more propensity for comparison because everything is so in your face, that
Yeah.
people don't feel that I have the magnitude because I don't have X number of followers, or there's so many more ways to doubt yourself today than ever before. And I had to get my head around the fact that impact is one person at a time. It's more than the number of hearts, or all of the things
Yeah.
that I think we get clouded by that can prevent
Yeah.
us from achieving the kinds of things that we want to in this life.
Yes, yeah, and it's so, so easy to talk yourself out of doing something before you even have the chance to begin. And if you have a vision for yourself and your life, whether it's writing a book or starting a podcast or whatever it might be, you were given that vision for a reason. That is your gift. We all have our own innate, unique gift to share with the world, to share with humanity. And we talk ourselves out of it. We think we're not capable, we're not good enough, it's not going to work, no one's going to care. But really, if you have that vision, it's because you were given that vision for a reason, and it's because you're capable of it. Like I always say, the universe would not give you the vision if you were not capable of it, because that's kind of fucked up. Like, here's this beautiful vision that you have for yourself and your life, but haha, you can't do it. Like, no, it's our mind. It's our mind that tells us we aren't capable. It's our mind that tells us we can't. And ultimately, that's part of the process of showing yourself that you can and taking that next step to actually move towards the vision that you have for yourself and your life, because you get there one step at a time. You create impact one step at a time, and you move towards the vision. And that's the life that you're meant to live. That is what the vision is. And you get there by just taking that next step. And so often we think we have to have it all figured out. At least I did. I'm like, I love a plan. I need to know what's happening now, next, and after that, and how it's all going to unfold. But when we have that plan, we're actually limiting ourselves, because we are limiting the true potential because we think we know best. And there's always a plan much greater than our own. And it requires us to just trust ourselves that we can take that next step and then the next step, and to let go of the things that are holding us back. And that's parts of what you share in your book. So tell me a little bit about your book and what it's about.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It makes me want to cry. Like, I was thinking about it before this podcast, because as you go through the process of writing the book, you go through this like final edits stage where
Yeah.
the publisher comes back and has all these like little tiny little things
Okay.
should you choose to accept them. And so you essentially reread your own content right back to yourself. It's a surreal process. I'm
Okay.
like, I wrote yes. I'm like reading it like a reader. Like you go back and forth between you being the author and the reader.
Mhm.
So one of there's a couple of components. One is, like I mentioned, this book is about overcoming your self-limiting beliefs, and it's called Born Unbreakable: 5 Steps to Overcoming Your Self-Limiting Beliefs. So, you know, just in case you wanted to know, there's 5 steps in there
Mhm.
that are pretty,
Mhm.
pretty profound, but very simple to follow. But the interesting thing that I incorporated into the book was, one, it's about my journey and the things that I personally suffered from that was limiting me because of my past. Things like divorce. I know you can relate. Things like doing just enough, but being afraid to go the distance because it's safer to choose mediocrity. Like, you kind of know the outcomes. If you play too big, then you risk more, right? So I just
Yeah.
like had this thing about playing it safe, but recognize that when you play it safe, you don't get the glory of everything that comes with putting yourself out there fully and completely, right? And so part of it is my story, but I knew that sometimes people can read something and they might not relate to that. Their pain or their experiences may not be fully aligned or connected. So part of what I incorporated was the fact that I'm a podcaster. Maybe there's someone else's story that they can connect to. So I included your story, in there because
Mm,
I wanted people to be able to find something. If it isn't me,
yeah,
maybe it's one of my incredible guests
yeah.
because there is such a wide variety from different parts of the world and have struggled through different things. Just to use examples. So one, readers can expect that there's real examples of real humans. They're not made up. They're actual people, and they have shared their stories. So it's not. I'm not sharing something that is they have not shared themselves. But two, there's really 5 steps that I believe that will help someone. And they all happen to start with A because, hey, alliteration helps people remember things. So the methodology that I share in there is called A5, because it's easier to kind of, think that way. And so, the first thing is when you're facing something that's a challenge and a limitation, the first step that you have to take is to assess your situation. What is holding me back? What is the problem I'm trying to solve? So it's about getting clarity. And even that step alone can feel challenging because sometimes we don't want to accept where we are. But it's about me being where your feet are, right? It is what it is. For some reason, you are continuing to choose that toxic relationship and you need to get real with what's going on. Or you want to get that promotion, but for whatever reason, you don't think you're worthy enough for it. So it can be many different things. And then step two is you have to analyze how you got there. What are the things that you need to reflect on that has made you get to this point, get to this decision, and be present, And I think that's acceptance is one of the hardest things, right?
Yeah.
Because we're very quick to point to other things. It's this person's fault. It's the company. It's like all these things, but the common denominator when we're in situations is ourselves. And so we have to get
Yes.
real with that. So those 2 steps is really about getting into the inner you, right? So when you're assessing and you're analyzing, that is the process. But the next 3 steps are about when you accept, there's a lot of A's in this book, is then
Mhm.
you adjust. And this is about those 2 millimeter shifts that you make. So it's not like you said, you don't just eat the elephant, right? All at
Mhm.
once. It's one bite at a
Mhm.
time. And so those 2 millimeter shifts, if your self limiting belief is that I come from an obese family, therefore that is my destiny, I cannot lose weight, I'm just made this way. It starts with those 2 millimeter shifts. I'm going to change this one thing in my diet. I'm going to walk before I jog, before I run. So you have to understand those adjustments and then you have to act. So once you realize what adjustments you need to make, the biggest thing that keeps us from getting to where we want to be is inaction. We admire the problem, we stare at it, we call our girlfriends or friends or family every day and just look at it and as many different ways as we can possibly, and it is still there. It's still called the same thing. It still looks like the same thing, but we haven't done anything about it. So you have to act. And then the final step that I talk about is you have to align. So it's one thing to be like, awesome. I did the thing. I ate the food. I did some exercise. I'm looking good. But alignment is about sustainable habits that will allow you to continue to be in that energy and be in that space so you can achieve beyond just this moment. And that's difficult because we continue to evolve. So that is the ultimate step in the process because you have to have your values in the right place and know what to say no to and know what to say yes to continue achieving those outcomes that you want. So that's really the essence of the book is talking through what all those steps look like, what they mean, and then of course examples of so that you can actually practice those things. And there's questions and exercises in there to help you through the process.
Wow. I am so excited to read it and for everyone else to read it. And I just love how you made it so tangible because so often when we have this journey of self-growth, of transformation, of making the changes that we want to make, it just feels so abstract. And it's like, well, how do we actually do it? But having an actual process to follow where it's like, no, it's actually very simple. We like to make it complicated, and that's one of the strategies that our ego will use to keep us stuck and to try to talk us out of change. But when you have a framework to follow, it really can be that simple. Now, simple doesn't mean easy. It just means it doesn't need to be harder than it has to be.
Mhm.
And the acceptance and awareness and recognizing that you are the common denominator in your life, that's something that I share about in my book as well, because my book is all about my journey of self-love and self-discovery after leaving an emotionally abusive and toxic as fuck marriage and moving across the country to restart my life. And the framework that I used to stop settling, to shift out of patterns of self-sabotage, to heal and release and let go of what I was still holding on to from the past, to transcend trauma and to ultimately create the life that I now live, a life where I am actually a priority in my life, where I am my absolute favorite person and I have unconditional self love. And I live in Bali and I know that I'm capable of anything and everything. So it really is my journey and also the framework on the journey of self love and self discovery. So my book is called How I Cured My Resting Bitch Face, your guide to stop settling, fall in love with yourself, and create a life you're obsessed with. And the title is actually in reference to a story that I share in the book. But on my journey, I recognized that I was the common denominator in my life. And if I wanted my life to change, then I needed to change. And acceptance of where you are and of your current reality is always the first step to any change. Because if you aren't accepting where you are, you can't get to where you want to go. It's literally like if you were to get in your car and use your GPS to drive somewhere, if it didn't have your starting destination, it couldn't give you the route to actually get to where you want to go. So often we are denying our current reality, which then really blocks us from actually making the changes and getting to the outcome that we desire. So, having that responsibility is and acceptance is the first step. And personal responsibility is what gives you your power back because it's so easy to blame other people. It's the job, it's my childhood, it's my partner, it's this or it's that. But when it's about somebody else, you can't do shit. You can't make changes when it's on them. The
Right.
moment you say, actually, this is me, I created this from a place of love and compassion, not blame or shame, because that's ultimately feeding into the same programs and conditions that are keeping you stuck in the first place. But lovingly accepting responsibility of your current situation is what allows you to change it and allows you to get out of your own way. And I share a lot about that in my book because I was the queen of getting in my own way. Like, I felt like I was always running into something, and it was me, it was myself. I was always blocking myself because I didn't know how to get out of my own way. I kept repeating all of these patterns. And that's the framework that I share. It's how to overcome these patterns, how to heal what's beneath, and how to transform the relationship with yourself, because that's what really transforms your life. It's not about by changing those external things, it's about making the internal shifts. That's what changes your external reality, because the external is just a reflection of the internal. And it's interesting because I left the marriage. I moved across the country to restart my life, and I basically recreated my past in a new place. Except this time, it wasn't the then abusive, now ex husband controlling my life. It was myself. It had the same energy and the same dynamics of my life looks really good on the outside, but it doesn't feel good on the inside. And then I had my second awakening of, oh fuck, okay. I've been trying to change the external. I think it's really time to do the deep inner work and heal what I'm still holding on to so that I can actually create a life that feels good on the inside. Because it doesn't matter what your life looks on the outside if it doesn't feel good inside.
Yeah. And I think that people spend an inexorbitant amount of time on that. If I accumulate
Yeah.
more things, if I am with these people, there's so much attention on that. And so you bring up a question, and I'd love for you to share more about this, because I know in my
Yeah.
book, this was kind of it's such a vital aspect of it. So I think we align on this. I want you to talk about healing and like the
Yeah.
importance of that, because I do think it is a fluid and I personally feel like it's almost a perpetual thing, because we're and I talk about it as in there will always be triggers, right?
Yeah.
So whatever trauma we've experienced, big or small, it's trauma. And we're going to go through certain things. So I'd love for you to share, like, what are the things in your healing process? But we've healed. It's great, but there are triggers. A new relationship. It could be a song that you hear on the radio. I mean, there's just things that come up, and then hopefully you're equipped with a different toolbox that allows you to react differently than maybe you did previously. But like, what is healing to you, and like, what does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And this was actually something I struggled with for the longest time because I knew I was carrying pain from the past. I knew I experienced trauma, but I'm like, what is healing and how do you actually do it? Like, what does that actually mean? And it's honestly, it's kind of the opposite of like physical healing. So when you get a physical wound, like let's just say you cut your hand, you're going to put a band-aid on it. The internal emotional healing, it's about taking those band-aids off. It's about discovering the parts of yourself that are holding on to the pain, the trauma, the experiences from the past that are now limiting you from living to your potential and experiencing life the way you want to live. So, trauma is really just how the past continues to affect your present. It's kind of like you could think about we carry around the shit from the past and wonder why our future feels and our present reality feels like crap. And then we smell shit and we're blaming other people. We're like, look at all this shit. And it's like, no, actually, it's your own shit. It's your own shit. And it's in releasing and letting go of that that you actually get to step into the life that you want to live. So, healing is very much a journey, and there's no finish line to this journey. I thought that was the biggest scam at first. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not going to get a trophy, like, you're this healed person. And healing is not linear. And there's always more life to be lived and deeper levels of yourself to reach and discover. So healing really just becomes this way of experiencing life. And it really is the journey of self love and self discovery. I really use those synonymously because it's just about discovering the parts of yourself that really need your own love the most. These are the parts of ourself that are often exiled and they're carrying the burdens from the past. And yet we hide from them, we abandon them, we avoid them. And really, when we have the courage to discover them, to discover these parts of ourself, we get to love them. Our love is the medicine. That's what healing is. And then we get to return them back to our heart. And that's integration. That's that sense of wholeness that we desire. So healing allows you to return to that sense of wholeness, to return to your truth and your love, and to really understand that you were never even broken in the first place. It was just the perception of that. So healing is really just a way of experiencing life, of using your current circumstances to learn more about yourself. And that includes getting triggers. And sometimes we think, we're healing, we shouldn't get triggered anymore. And we might even perhaps get frustrated with ourselves when we experience triggers, which is really just perpetuating the things that we're healing from. Because experiencing triggers is actually a good thing. when you have the awareness of it, because you can notice it and get curious and actually get excited like, cool, this is showing me a part of myself that still needs some love. This is showing me a part of myself that is still holding on to a wound. And that's amazing because when you have the awareness of it, you get to actually support yourself and give yourself what you need, because there are always two options when you experience a trigger. You can react, which is really just avoiding the opportunity and the gift of healing in the moment, or you can be activated and really get curious about, what is this experience showing me about myself? How can I support myself? How can I honor myself? How can I heal whatever is still hurting? Or how can I release and let go of what I'm still holding on to? So, triggers are actually a really, really good thing when we can be open to them and open to the experience of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's so profound. I have such relation to you with that, and
Yeah.
in the recognition that it is perpetual. Like
Yeah.
there isn't this moment of, like you said, I'm healed, I'm done.
Yeah.
It is really like an ongoing thing. So I appreciate the lens that you have on it, because I too I sat in that part of writing of like, it's ongoing.
Yeah.
This is a forever thing, but when you can embrace it because of how beautiful it is to, like you said, have that recognition and be able to move past things to make the kind of decisions for yourself that you never thought you could. That's a
Yeah.
gift. So I love it.
Yeah. 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 And healing is a gift. It's a gift that you give yourself. And it's a gift that you give humanity and your ancestors and future generations. They say when you heal yourself, you are healing 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. So I really like to believe, like, I am the one, and you are the one that our ancestors have been waiting for, to be able to transcend the patterns that we've been living and to release and let go of the pain that has been passed down from generation to generation. Like, this is so, so much bigger than what we even think it is, because it's the mind. If we're in the mind, we're limiting ourselves because there's so much more than that. And it really gets to be this beautiful journey. And you're not doing it alone. There's a community around you. There's also the support of the higher power that is, call it God, spirit, source, the universe. And the more that you can connect with that, the more that you get to actually feel that support and guidance on this journey, because healing happens in different realms. There's the physical aspect of healing, which includes our 3D reality, and oftentimes, what we think we're healing, whether it's our finances or our body or the relationship, but really healing is about this multimodality of emotional healing, energetic healing, and the spiritual aspect of healing. So, really, looking at the multifacets of healing allows you to experience the scope that it has to offer to you.
Yeah. Oh, it's so powerful.
Mm. Well, I am so excited to read your book. Feel like I could just keep talking with you forever because I just adore you so much and we have such incredible conversations. But let's wrap this up. Where can my listeners find you? And where can they purchase your book? And when will it be released? Because I know it's available for pre-order now.
Yeah, all great questions.
Yeah.
So unbreakable.com is the place to find me. There's links to everything else on that website, to the Instagram and Facebook and all the other things. So that is your one source that unlocks the magic to everywhere else. So bornunbreakable.com. You can find my book on Amazon, Born Unbreakable: 5 Steps to Overcoming Your Self-Limiting Beliefs. You can pre-order it now and it will be released on July 23rd, 2024.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm so excited. I'm gonna pre-order my copy now. I can't wait to read it. My book will be released next week, actually. So my book will be published on March 12th, and it's available for pre-order now, also on Amazon. The title is How I Cured My Resting Bitch Face, Your Guide to Stop Settling, Fall in Love with Yourself, and Create a Life You're Obsessed with. I have some pre-order bonuses that are available to learn more about on my website, howicuredmyrbf.com. And if you have any questions, you can connect with me on Instagram. I am Kel Cal. And I'll make sure to have everything linked, all the contact info for Dez and her website and my info as well in the show notes.
Amazing. Such an honor and a pleasure and joy to have this time with you, Kel.
Thank you. I appreciate you so, so much.